Hey everyone, Juicy Reviews here, and in this video I'm going to be doing an album review of Wall of Eyes by The Smile. Well, if you don't know, The Smile is basically Radiohead, but kind of like a different, more new band, and they've got like 2 albums out with this new one coming out just recently this year. But yeah, it's kind of like Radiohead, but just like minimalize it down. It's just like a simpler version, still the same like alternative kind of music. So A Light for Attracting Attention for me really introduced the band and what sort of sound direction they were going to go in, because Radiohead, everyone knows what Radiohead sounds like, mostly depressing kind of alternative art kind of music, occasionally going for that electric kind of sound, but A Light for Attracting Attention was more minimalistic, kind of art rock sound that includes noticeably more guitars than Radiohead might. That's kind of what I got out of that album. And I think overall, kind of setting up this new band that Thom Yorke has is kind of like a good idea. I feel like he's at this point in his career where maybe venturing off into something like alongside Radiohead is a pretty creative idea. I mean, especially with a different sound, because trying to fit that into such a perfect discography that Radiohead has, it can just be a bit messy. So fitting it into a different sounding band, I think is a pretty cool idea. In fact, I think some of the songs on that first album, and I'm not too sure about this album, but definitely on the Smiles first album, they have some songs that are like 10 years old or something like that. So yeah, it was pretty good, pretty straightforward, fairly simple. My criticism of it would be that it wasn't very full on, and in that sense I mean that when they're trying to go for more of an aggressive sound, it didn't sound as aggressive as I know they can do, because Radiohead, obviously they're such a great band, and when they're sad they can go like really depressing, and when they make a kind of heavy song it can be really heavy. So just knowing that and listening to this album, it kind of felt like the sadder sort of tracks just weren't all that captivating emotionally, and the same kind of applies with the aggressive hard hitting kind of tracks. But on the plus side, it was very memorable, some of the songs, some very beautiful songwriting, and if anything, it just left me wanting more. So, as you can imagine, I was really excited when I saw they announced that they would have a new album coming out this year. Obviously, it's out now, and obviously, I'm doing an album review now, but it's basically everything that I was looking for in their second album, because what I just mentioned, what I didn't like in their other album, their first album, is kind of cleaned up in this album. I feel like they go a lot more in detail with their sound, a lot less of a simplistic kind of thing and more detailed. When they're aggressive, they sound really aggressive, almost destructive. It's kind of much more organized, but at the same time, it's more abstract, it's more experimental. It's just all over the place, but kind of like kept really tidy. And it's kind of like the other album was kind of like messy, but aggressive and stuff, and then this one is more organized in a messy kind of sense. It's just better, basically. The production on here is basically perfect. I mean, it just sounds so clean, so raw. I need to mention Tom Skinner, the band's drummer. He just did a fantastic job of the drumming throughout. And I can't really do an album review here without mentioning the fantastic Jonny Greenwood, who did an amazing job on the guitar, as he always does. And of course Thom Yorke, who does a fantastic job with his vocals. I mean, he has a variety of different vocals here, different kind of styles and arrangements. I don't really have any complaints here. If I had to be like really picky, I would maybe say that there isn't any energetic kind of tracks, and I do think with some of the songs the bass isn't as loud as it could be within the mix, but these are just kind of like minor details that don't really affect my score at all. You got songs like Teleharmonic, which is very spacious, sort of feels like, I've described it as like daydreaming on acid, just kind of that atmospheric feeling. It's probably my favourite song of the album. It's just a very beautifully sung vocals from Tom that felt very natural for him. Other songs are like Read the Room, which feel very mellow, very raw, just an amazing song. Bending Hectic is another gorgeous song, almost brought a tear to my eye. It's kind of an unusual kind of vocal tone for Tom, and that's what I mean when I was saying he has different kind of styles, but he has like a strangely lower tone of voice than he usually does with some of his vocals. But I think it was like a nice change, and it sounded really good for him. Just the guitar throughout the entire thing is just, it's just perfect. Overall, I think this album is stunning, creative, just amazing overall. I really don't have any complaints, like I said before, but the amount of detail that's gone and been put into this is just, it just shows so much. I think I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. I think the reason why I put a 9 out of 10 is because it's such a beautiful album and it really did build upon what I criticised in their first album, and it's once again left me more excited for another album. But yeah, that's just how I felt about it. But let me know in the comments below, what did you think about it? And do you think The Smile have the potential to outdo Radiohead in the future? Because honestly, I kind of do. I mean, if they keep up with this pace, I really do think they're on the road to go into stardom as much as Radiohead does. Hope you guys enjoyed the review, and I'll catch you later.